"Ma'am, I'm afraid I can't let this plane take off." The words hung in the cabin like the final toll of a church bell. Sergeant William Hartley stood at the doorway of the private jet, rain dripping from his bearskin hat. His white-gloved hand trembled slightly, but his eyes stayed fixed on the woman seated before him, Queen Camilla. Behind her, open cases of jewels shimmered under the cabin lights. Crowns, tiaras, sapphire brooches, enough treasure to blind anyone who dared look too long. Camilla's voice was calm, royal, and cold. "Sergeant, do you have any idea what you're doing?" William straightened his posture. "Yes, Your Majesty. I'm doing my duty." Outside, the storm intensified. Raindrops hit the plane windows like ticking clocks. Inside, silence. Every officer nearby pretended to adjust their earpieces, terrified to interfere. William stepped closer. "There's been a security order. All outbound luggage must be re-inspected. No exceptions." Camilla's lips curved slightly. "No exceptions?" Her tone was sharp, but her eyes flickered with something else, unease. William knelt beside a velvet suitcase, his fingers brushing over its golden clasps. It was heavier than it looked. When he opened it, his breath caught. Inside wasn't just jewelry. There was a sealed wooden chest, smaller than a shoebox, wrapped in an old military scarf. It didn't belong among diamonds and crowns. "Ma'am," William said carefully, "this box isn't listed on the manifest." Camilla's shoulders stiffened. "That's not a concern of yours. With all due respect, it has to be." For a moment, the only sound was the wind outside and the faint ticking of the cabin clock. William was a man of rules, raised by a father who had served the crown before him. To him, duty wasn't about who you obeyed, but what you stood for. Camilla, on the other hand, had spent decades learning that power isn't held by truth, but by secrets. "Sergeant," she said, her voice softening, "do you know what happens to people who question a queen?" He didn't blink. "Do you know what happens to soldiers who break their oath?" The words hit like thunder. The guard behind him swallowed hard. Camilla's composure cracked. For just a second, William opened the wooden chest. Inside lay a folded letter, a medal, and a small silver watch, its glass slightly cracked. The hands had stopped at 3:17. Camilla's face turned pale. Her gloved hands clenched tightly. "That's enough," she whispered. But William had already seen the inscription on the back of the watch. "To my brother, come home safe." He looked up. "Your Majesty, this isn't contraband." Her lips trembled. "It's more than that." She took a shaky breath and looked out the window, as if searching the clouds for a ghost. "That watch belonged to my brother. He died wearing it. He was a medic, not even 23. They said his body couldn't be brought home. For 40 years, I've carried his letter, waiting for the right moment to return it to the soil he dreamed of." Her voice cracked. "I wasn't fleeing. I was going to take him home." The cabin fell silent. Even the storm outside seemed to pause. William lowered his gaze, shame and respect mixing inside him. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I thought." She shook her head. "You thought you were protecting your country. You were, and he'd have thanked you for it." Her words struck something deep inside him. His own father, also a soldier, had died before he ever got the chance to say goodbye. Camilla reached into the chest and handed him the folded letter. "Would you read it?" He hesitated, then carefully unfolded the fragile paper. "If I don't make it back, tell her not to cry for me. Tell her to keep shining. Because the crown means nothing without the people who hold it up." William's voice broke on the last line. When he looked up, Camilla's eyes glistened, not with anger, but with memory. "Do you see now, Sergeant?" she whispered. "We all carry our losses differently. Some in medals, some in silence." William closed the letter gently and saluted. "Permission to return this personally, Your Majesty." Her lips parted in surprise. "Why would you do that?" "Because your brother's watch deserves a soldier's escort, not a search report." Camilla nodded slowly. For the first time that day, her royal posture softened into something human, grief, grace, and gratitude all tangled together. "Then go," she said. "And when you place it down, tell him." His sister finally kept her promise. 2 days later, at a quiet military cemetery outside Calais, William knelt beside a simple white cross. He placed the watch beneath it, along with a single red poppy. The clouds parted, sunlight spilling across the grass. He stood silently for a long time, hand over heart. When he returned to his quarters, a letter awaited him, sealed with the royal crest. "Sergeant Hartley, thank you for seeing what others overlook. True loyalty isn't blind obedience. It's courage with compassion. Camilla R." He smiled faintly, folded the letter, and pinned his father's old medal above his heart. For the first time in years, he felt at peace. Sometimes, the bravest act isn't drawing your sword, it's lowering your guard. If this story moved you, subscribe and share where you're watching from. Your voice keeps these stories alive.